All right, let's see here. And like always, if you're unable to get your questions answered today, highly encourage everybody hop into our developer Discord server. We're hanging out in there all the time. It's a great place to ask questions, meet some other builders in the community, and have a conversation with our QU AI bot. Um, Man, that thing is actually really helpful. I'll admit. So, if you're not getting, answers to your questions, ping the QU AI bot, and it's likely to give you everything you need. I've been using it quite a ton. We're building out a growth dashboard in our live streams that happen every Tuesday and Thursday night. So we've been working on a Quai dashboard to show us some of the metrics we're super interested in seeing as Quai Network continues to grow and expand. I won't be able to share it with you guys here, but if you tune in on Tuesday, you'll see where we're at. We've made a ton of progress. We're now tracking some account metrics, some contract metrics. Got a good overview going here. So join us on Tuesday and Thursday nights, 6 p.m. Central, where we're vibe coding live. And you'll be able to see at least what I got cooking on my end, ask questions, engage, and earn some Quai just for doing so. So it's a good place to watch somebody build something in real time on Quai Network. Let's see here. We don't have any of the engineers yet. They are super heads down on Project SOAP right now. We are almost at the finish line, folks, and getting this thing rolled out to testnet. They've been working with multiple pools, iterating on some of their feedback, and I think we're real close. I think we're gonna do one or two more tests today, and then don't hold me to it, but definitely expect to see testnet roll out. If I was a betting man, I'd say next 72 hours. Anyhow. Interim, before any of the engineers show up, if they're able to make it today, feel free to drop any and all questions you may have in Discord. If you're hanging out with us on X, we will be prioritizing Discord questions. So check out the pinned tweet and hop into our Discord server. Otherwise, yeah, we got the QU AI bot. We got my building experience over here on Quai Network to help you out with some questions. Let's take a peek at some of the ones that have trickled in thus far. I missed the last tech AMA. I'm kind of bummed I missed the last tech AMA with Dr. K. I bet that was a good one. Let's see here. All right, Steph coming in hot with a question about SOAP. He asks, will SOAP ever enforce rewards using Chi instead of Quai? Is there a pathway to force distribution of Chi to users? Is it assumed that actors should just convert to Chi instead of only focusing on Quai? This is based on the belief that Chi needs to be used, demanded, or elected by miners to grow the entire system. So I want to say it's possible, but I don't think that's something that we'll consider in the short term. Ultimately, Chi as a flat coin or something that holds stable purchasing power over time depends on a mature market in Quai, right? So first priority is to establish a mature market in Quai. Miner selection is just one piece of the puzzle there. The other piece ultimately is the maturity of the arbitrage opportunists who are participating in those conversion rates, both in protocol and in those external markets like WrapChi on QuaiSwap. So I would say, the long-term goal for Chi's stability and actual utility requires that mature market in Quai. So that'll probably be the initial goal. In fact, I know it's the initial goal is to develop a mature market in Quai. And so that will allow, the opportunity to elevate and for people to actually take advantage of it. I don't think forcing Chi onto miners, actually does any good with the controller as it's currently designed. So really relying on market incentive design there to achieve stability. So hopefully that answers your question, Steph. It's an interesting idea, but I think that's my gut tells me, honestly, that's stepping outside of that proper market incentive design, right? So that's kind of where I'm at on that. Let me see if any of the other engineers will be able to make it today. Jonathan, if you're available. Nice. All right. Moving right along here, we got some community questions coming through. Shout out to Keyshore for collecting these. Don't know what we would do without you, Keyshore. Really appreciate the efforts you're putting in. Mike D in the Alpha Mine server asked, any early info as to GPU versus Antminer performance with Quai SOAP Kapow from testnet data? I'm very new to mining, but thought ASICs would be in God mode in comparison. So, yeah, great question. So when we think about Kapow as an algorithm, and even ProgPow, which is what we're using today, these are, really these are GPU specific algorithms. So those algorithms specifically are ASIC resistant, or the other way we say that is it's designed for maximum efficiency on a GPU. So if somebody were to create an ASIC for Kapow or ProgPow, they would end up just building a GPU and then competing with, AMD and NVIDIA. So the short answer is no, we don't have any info as to ASIC performance on Kapow or ProgPow, but we do know that GPUs perform better than I think any of the ASICs that have been created at this point. So it looks like we got Jonathan in the audience. I'm going to shoot him an invite to speak. Hey, Jonathan, how you doing, sir?
Hey guys. Sorry I'm running late here, but good to be on here. Good to talk to you guys.
Yeah, no sweat, man. I was just letting the audience know you guys are heads down, coming real close to rolling out SOAP on testnet. So maybe we just start there. Hey, how was your weekend? And any updates on SOAP for the community?
Yeah, weekend was great. Stuff's going very well. We're doing internal testing. Everything's going very well. We're working with pools now. Everything's coming along as expected. I will say that the pool integration is taking a little bit longer than expected, actually, but otherwise, like, everything's coming along very well. It's just a matter of, getting these third parties to understand what we built and understand how to integrate it into their pool software. We are working very closely with Alpha Pool. That's going swimmingly because he's like letting us help him a little more directly, I would say, than the other pools. They're a little bit more, secretive, I guess, on their code base. They don't want to like share their code as much. So yeah, that's just kind of one of the challenges of working with third parties. They're always wanting to make their code private. They don't really want to share a lot of information about it with developers sometimes. So that's just how the mining game works. Unfortunately, it's just how it is. But we're coming along. We're working through it. And these pools they're still integrating. So we just gotta help them in any way we can.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate the hard work. Tip the hat to you. Glad you had a good weekend. We had one question come in before you were able to join us. I'd love to get your thoughts on. Steph was asking if SOAP will ever enforce rewards using Chi instead of Quai. And my initial take was probably not, as that kind of defeats the market incentive design behind Qi and the controller.
You can choose. You can choose either. As a miner, you can always choose to mine Qi or Quai. This doesn't change that.
Sure, sure. The question was, would we ever consider enforcing Qi over Quai?
Like requiring one or the other? No, we would never require one or the other.
Okay. Yeah. My initial.
It's always a choice.
Right. Right. Okay. Rock and roll. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Moving right along here. Let's see here. Okay. Next question from the community. Thanks, Kishore. Does the SOAP emissions model account for merged mining correlations, e.g. Doge LTC, where miners earn dual rewards, or are difficulties treated as independent across chains?
So we will always try to submit blocks to whichever chain will accept them. So in the case of Doge and Litecoin, they are merge mined. That means sometimes we can submit a block to both, and we will do so if we can. That just depends on I guess you can think about it like the luck of the block or the difficulty of the block.
Oh, did we lose you?
Both, so we get the reward for both. If it only meets one of the two, which is, I guess like half the time or something like that, that'll be the case. It will be submitted to Doge and not Litecoin because Doge has a lower difficulty target than Litecoin. So I think about half the time mining script you submit to one and not the other, and then the other half you submit to both. I think that's how it works from my understanding. But yeah, we will submit to both. And then there's obviously, when you're mining other algorithms like SHA, there's the possibility of merge mining there. So we're looking into that as well. Right now, we're going to start with Bitcoin Cash, SHA mining. And in the future, we might switch over to a merge mine approach with Bitcoin and one other coin like Syscoin. We just have to look at the relative revenues. It is slightly more profitable to merge mine Bitcoin with another coin than to just mine Bitcoin by itself or just mine Bitcoin Cash by itself. Merge mining usually is slightly more profitable. You can think of it like maybe 10% more. So obviously we're looking into those options, but we're just trying to figure out which one is going to be the most profitable for us.
Awesome. That makes sense. Great question, guys. Let's see here. Moving right along. How sensitive are SOAP emission estimates to small shifts in hash rate distribution across supported POW assets? Oh, that's an interesting question. How sensitive are SOAP emission estimates? I would say they're kind of directly related, right? The amount of hash rate we have on a subsidy chain directly influences the emissions we earn from that chain.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question. I don't entirely understand what he's asking, but I think, when the SOAP emission increases, so like when the Quai emission increases, we're going to get an increase in rate for whatever chain is the increased emissions is for. So like, for example, if we were to increase the Quai emission for SHA, which we're going to do, we're going to increase Quai emissions across the board. But because there are less SHA miners, it'll be more profitable for SHA miners to start with, I think. And then you'll get more SHA hash rate, like that's as an example. I think that answered the question, but I didn't really understand what he's asking there.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, maybe we can expand on that one. Maybe Kishore has some more details. That's a great explanation. Appreciate that, Jonathan. Nice. All right, man, we got a wall of questions here. Good work, Kishore. All right, moving right along. Since merge miners can earn from multiple sources simultaneously, should emission calculations be weighted by effective revenue per hash instead of raw hash rate? Oh, that's a good question.
Absolutely.
How are we, determining those emission calculations, is it per hash or is it like the raw hash rate?
It is based on revenue per hash.
Okay.
So SHA has a different revenue per hash, obviously, than Kapow, because SHA has 100 times more hashes per second than Kapow for the same unit of energy. So it's all relative to revenue per hash rate. Now, Dr. K is working on the controller. He can probably give you a better explanation than I can because I actually haven't reviewed the controller design yet. But there is a controller in the system that changes the Quai emissions per hash for a given algorithm depending on the difficulty. So as the difficulty of Bitcoin increases, the Quai emission per hash will increase, I think, something like that, because or maybe it's the other way around. When the difficulty increases, the Quai emission per hash decreases. Actually, I think that's what happens. So as Bitcoin, difficulty goes up, you get less Quai per hash. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So when the difficulty drops dramatically, you will get more Quai per hash. I think that's how it is, but I'm not entirely certain because I haven't reviewed the controller code yet. So that's something you definitely want to ask Dr. K on Wednesday. He will have a much better answer about how the hash rate revenue controller works.
Nice. Yeah, fair statement. Great question too. It sounds like, initially we're thinking revenue per hash. So whoever's asking that, you guys are on the money. We'll definitely re-review that on Wednesday. Nice. All right. Moving right along here. Are Quai rate changes designed to propagate linearly to conversion rates, or does the protocol smooth these changes to prevent short-term distortions? I believe it smooths them. Do you know, Jonathan?
Yeah, I mean, it should be like smooth. It should be a smooth process. It's over like several hundred blocks. It's like a delayed reaction. So like, I think it's like the last 1,000 blocks or something. It does like an average over that last 1,000, something like that. It's a smooth process, a little bit delayed. The KQI rate change we're going to make will have a much bigger impact. Like we're going to have to I think hard code 1 to start to increase the emissions. That's definitely going to be a very it's going to be an immediate change, and it's going to be a very significant one, and it's not going to be one that you would see again in the future because the controller is a lot smoother.
Got it. Yeah, great questions, guys. Okay, so moving right along here. If additional proof of work networks are added later, will SOAP redistribute emissions proportionally or expand total emission volume? Oh, that's an interesting question.
That's a good question. I think it will be more like a redistribution. I wouldn't expect us to increase the emissions past what we're going to start with. I don't think it'll be necessary, but I mean, the way it works is if we increase emissions, we're actually gaining more revenue. So at least that's how it should work. Like, because we have this 2-week delay and we have, staking and all this stuff, and obviously the buybacks, increasing emissions just increases the protocol's revenue. But it is obviously a balancing factor, so you can't infinitely increase emissions. There's definitely a Schelling point that you don't want to, go past it. So there's a balance, right? So I wouldn't expect us to have to increase emissions to add a new protocol. We'd probably just redistribute them. But that remains to be seen. I'm not exactly sure yet.
Okay. Yeah, dang, we got some good questions in here today, guys. I need to take some notes and follow up with Dr. K. Next one here is also an amazing one. If 2 contributing chains report new blocks at different intervals or experience temporary reorgs, how does SOAP ensure consistent emission crediting?
Well, I mean, we just give you Quai for your hash. We don't actually, expect, we expect the block to be valid if it's a valid difficulty, but it won't always be a valid difficulty. So we don't pay you for, a block being a valid Litecoin block, for example. We pay you for hash. Every once in a while, we submit a block and it will be a valid block, right? But we don't actually pay people for valid, subsidy chain blocks. We pay them for valid Quai blocks, which are also valid subsidy chain blocks. And obviously, we're going to check to make sure that the header is valid, the Merkle root in the header is valid, the information in the header is valid, all this stuff. But we don't, guarantee that a given block, or we don't require you to guarantee that a given block is a valid Litecoin block or Ravencoin block, for example. It's just stochastically, every once in a while we get lucky and we submit a valid block. We find a valid block and submit it. And sometimes reorgs happen. Once we get more of the hash rate of a chain, we actually are more likely to win in the case of reorgs or in the case of propagation delay or something, because we have that's just kind of how proof of work works. The more share of the hash rate you have, the more you're able to kind of control the network. Now, obviously, Quai is different because our proof of work uses work shares, which is a lot more resilient to minority attacks like that. But and to be clear, I'm not saying we're going to attack a chain or anything like that. I'm just saying the more hash rate you have as a proportion of the total, the more likely you are to get a block accepted by the network, especially if you're mining on top of that block once you've submitted it. So you're like kind of extending your own chain, so to speak. When you extend your own chain, like, you're going to get the rewards for that chain, like very likely. So that's just something to keep in mind. But I think to start, like, there's no guarantee that a submitted block will be canonical in the chain. It's probability. It's like, sometimes you make it, sometimes you don't, right? It's totally about probability.
Got it. So, really, at the fundamental level here, you're mining Quai, and then if you achieve proper difficulty for that subsidy chain, that block is submitted, and we collect those rewards. But as a miner, you don't really have to worry about that if you're just trying to earn some Quai.
Yeah, neither the miner nor the network needs to worry about anything unrelated to Quai. The only person who has to, the only person who has to actually worry about that is the Quai Foundation that's running the actual Dogecoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin nodes. There's like a piece of software that kind of interfaces with the Quai network and stuff, but nobody else has to worry about what's going on in those chains. It's not really the purview of the Quai network or the miners to know what's going on Dogecoin. That's just not related, really. SOAP it builds on top of Quai. SOAP is not a replacement for anything. It doesn't, control the network in any way. It's just something important to note that, it's not something that the miners or the network itself has to worry about at all.
Got it. Okay. That kind of lends into question number 9. So I'm going to skip 8 real quick, Kishore. How are different chains' hash rates normalized for equivalence? It sounds like they're not, and ultimately that doesn't necessarily need to happen at all. Am I following you correctly, Jonathan?
Well, yeah, they're normalized. I mean, we have like a way of measuring the entropy reduction, for a given hash, for a given
I see.
type of hash. So there is definitely a normalization process. And there's calculations that are made and to compare them. So like, for example, if I did 1 trillion SHA hashes, how many Kapow hashes did I do? I think honestly, if right now, if you ask me, I would say 1 trillion SHA hashes is probably around 1 million Kapow hashes. I think something like that. So the difference is quite large, right? But we do have, code to normalize them all, because you have to, for the entropy reduction comparison, the whole poem thing, right, requires us to normalize the different algorithms and to understand how much energy and how much entropy they use, or represent. And that is also something that Dr. K did, and he would be a better person to answer on what the numbers are. I know there is an equivalence though.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about that wrong. That makes sense. In terms of Quai emissions, those hash rates have to be normalized.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Qi emissions too. I mean,
right.
When you're mining Qi with SHA, like we obviously have to give you way less per hash, Qi per hash, because you're using less energy per hash than for Kapow. You're using a lot more energy per hash for Kapow. Kapow is a lot heavier of an algorithm, and obviously it runs in GPUs, which is a different hardware entirely. So.
Okay. That makes sense. Really appreciate that, Jonathan. That helped me out a ton. Hopefully that answers even more questions for you guys. Again, taking notes here. We'll definitely want to follow up on these with Dr. K, who's got his fingers deep in that controller. Going back one to question 8, probably another one for Dr. K, but I'm going to read it here for the audience. What's the smallest unit of time or block interval over which SOAP recalculates emissions adjustments? Do you know, Jonathan?
I don't know the answer. That's a Dr. K question. He wrote the controller.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I'm taking notes, folks. We'll definitely follow up with the man himself on Wednesday. All right. Let's see here. Moving right along. What is a healthy entropy balance range before minor incentives start to shift? Healthy entropy balance range. I'm not sure I quite understand this question. Does this one make sense to you, Jonathan?
No, I mean, if he's looking for a number, I don't have a number.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's normalization. Like I said, they all have to be balanced. When you're comparing the entropy reduced, they have to be balanced. So, that's obviously something we have to do. And to my understanding, that has already been done. It's just something I haven't, caught up to speed yet myself because I haven't had time to go through all the new code. I've been writing new code myself, obviously. That's taken a lot of my time, but, reviewing, what's been written it's going to take some more time that I haven't gotten around to it.
No sweat. No sweat. All right. This one, the last one in this walk here has come up a few times. Will the community also get to test through testnet, or are they going directly from the pool to mainnet?
Yes, we will be launching testnet this week on Orchard. We're going to be relaunching DevNet today, and if everything goes well, we will be launching on testnet this week. Our plan was Friday last week, but just we had to do a couple of changes, and we're going to have to restart the DevNet today and then try it again. And if everything goes well, which I think it will, we will be launching on Orchard this week, and that means that anybody can test it. I expect AlphaMine or Alpha Pool to be the first one to support it on testnet. So you might be able to connect through Alpha Pool. Mining, solo mining is a little bit more difficult. I think what we can also try to do is run our own pool on testnet. We have like a basic pool implementation that we've sent to, the third party pools as like a reference for the changes necessary to support the SIP protocol. So, we have like our own pool that kind of works. So I think we can also do that, to just, get testnet going. So yes, you will be able to test it, yourself on your own hardware. If you have an ASIC, even better. If you just have a GPU, that also works. We'll have more information about that this week.
Rock and roll. All right. Great questions, guys. Kiri here is asking about Alpha Pool. Sounds like testnet is not quite there yet, but coming real soon. Keep your eyes peeled for that. I'm seeing a number of community members start to build mining rigs. You guys rock. Love to see it. Definitely go check out the mining channels if you want to see those rigs. Some of them are pretty cool. So shout out to all you guys getting ready for this. I don't want to get my hands on a Nerd Q plus myself.
Yeah, those are cool because they're open source.
Right.
One thing that Bitmain sucks at is open source software or hardware. Their firmware is closed source. Their hardware is, Bitmain is a for-profit company. I guess I understand that they have IP and all that, but I really prefer projects that are open source. And BitAxe or NerdPax, QAxe, whatever the fuck it's called. Those are open source hardware, and also open source software, and that's a lot better, overall.
Okay.
It's going to make our industry a lot more distributed. You're talking about the centralization of the mining, the ASICs, right? Like that's one of the reasons we chose ProgPow to begin with. Kapow is also kind of same, is that anybody with a GPU can mine it and it's fair. Bitmain has made mining, in my opinion, unfair, for a long time. And seeing these open source, ASICs come out is very, heartening. And it's making me a little bit more bullish on, ASIC mining in general, because it makes it a lot more obtainable for the average individual. Like, people are not going to mine if they have to buy something from China and now they have to pay tariffs on it. And then they have to like trust the company is not going to scam them. And then they have to trust that like it works. And then there's just a lot of trust involved in the ASIC mining industry that I don't like, but I think it's being disrupted by these open source projects, and I'm really bullish on those.
Heck yeah. Yeah. Last week at that Web5 conference, a lot of people were talking about solo mining with bid axes. So,
Yeah, I think Quai is going to bring a revival of solo mining as well, because you don't actually have to find a Bitcoin block to be a solo miner. Like in Bitcoin, you buy one of these nerd axes, like 99% of the people who buy them are never going to find a solo block. They're just wasting energy. But the 1% that do find a Bitcoin block, like congratulations, you now have like $300,000 or whatever.
right.
But most people are not going to find a block. Now in Quai, you will, as a solo miner, you will eventually. I mean, even with one of those 1 terahash, $100 bidax miners, like eventually you will find a work share, and anybody can solo mine. So it's a lot fairer, and it's a lot better for solo miners.
Absolutely. No, that's a good take there. I didn't think about it that way, but yeah, making solo mining cool again in other proof of work networks. Heck yeah.
Yeah, Quai is absolutely making solo mining cool again. Absolutely.
100%. Rock on. All right. Man, people are super excited to participate, Jonathan. Folks want to get in on the DevNet. They want to get in on the testnets. As of right now, let's see here. What are their options? Is DevNet participation even a thing, or are we all kind of waiting on, testnet?
I'd recommend waiting for testnet. DevNet gets restarted every once in a while. It's not the most stable. Well, I guess actually now it probably is. Today it probably will be. But no, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's realistic to have people running DevNet nodes, because it's really only a few days. I mean, we're going to have this out on testnet this week. So, just wait a few days. Like we'll have it out. You can run nodes and test it.
Boom. Rock on. Let the guys cook, Kiri. Testnet coming soon. Don't worry. Like I said earlier, if I was a betting man, I got my money on 72 hours, but I'll probably lose that bet. But probably, end of Friday is probably even the safest bet at this point. So, super excited, guys. Super excited. All right. So Kishore's wondering, how is DevNet going, Jonathan? Can we share any results or any numbers? I know Alan's been dropping a lot of details in the general channel and others, but what are your thoughts overall on DevNet, and like what have you seen? Do you have any numbers you can share?
I mean, everything's going well. We had to do a refactor, not because it wasn't working, just because we wanted to simplify the code base a little bit more. And that makes it easier to add new chains in the future if we want to. But yeah, it's going well. I mean, I don't really have any numbers. I know we're constantly mining. I think we probably have like 90% of the Litecoin testnet blocks at this point, or Litecoin testnet hash rate. We're mining like a majority for sure of the Litecoin testnet, and also Dogecoin testnet, and also Ravencoin. I'm pretty sure we have a majority of Ravencoin, Dogecoin, Litecoin testnet right now. And we're not going to have a majority of the mainnet, to be clear. I mean, that's just what, nobody's really doing a lot on testnet. It's just, people with spare hash rate, they mine testnet out of like, just charity, I guess. It's not like they're making money from it. But for us, like, it's a big cheat feat. Like, we can prove that we can control a network and mine it just fine and there's no problems. So yeah, I mean, I think Bitcoin Cash, we also have a majority too, of their testnet. So, it's going well.
Heck yeah. That's super inspiring. Appreciate you sharing that. Kiri's asking here, any chance we could get a solution to sync mainnet nodes faster before SOAP in case peeps want to do that solo mining, or bare minimum a fresh snapshot?
It's just a snapshot, right? You just download a snapshot. That's like the solution right now to syncing.
Okay. All right. Well, I will push Kiri for a fresh snapshot. Sounds like the current one takes about a little more than 24 hours to sync. So fair.
Okay.
Fair.
Yeah, we can publish a new snapshot. That's easy.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Another question here. Can we say what pools we're currently testing with?
Yeah. We have K1 pool, Hero Miners, and Alpha pool. Those are the ones that are currently integrating. I mean, we're working with other ones, but those are the ones that are like actively integrating.
Nice. All right. Rock on. Great questions, guys. Okay, we got some more coming through here. This is nonstop. Quick check-in for those of you who are hanging out on X. We are actually simulcasting from Discord. So if you're wondering where these questions are coming from and you have some of your own, feel free to check that pinned tweet up above and hop into Discord and chat directly with us. The community is a ton of fun. Otherwise, I will check the comment section here on X before we end this space. All right, so next one here. When workshare entropy exceeds 50%, does the higher total entropy really make reorgs harder, or just shift the cost to other chains' hash markets?
Can you say that again? I didn't quite catch that.
Yeah, sorry. That threw me for a loop. Great question, though. I'm starting to wrap my head around it. When workshare entropy exceeds 50%, does the higher total entropy really make reorgs harder, or just shift the cost to other chains' hash markets?
I mean, my answer, I have a follow-up question. What is 50%? I mean, 50% of what? 50% of the network? Because the other networks don't measure their hash rate and entropy like we do. Like for us, it's like 50% entropy reduction of the network is kind of like 50% of the hash rate. But I don't think Bitcoin, measures it like that. It's just hash rate. So like, I mean, if the answer, if it's like 50% of the hash rate that we control, yeah, I mean, we would never have a block reorg really. I mean, I guess statistically it could happen, but like if we just, mined on our own chain, like we'd never have a reorg or any kind of fork or orphan. Those things only happen because there's other parties that are like participating and fighting for the next block, and then sometimes two people produce a block at the same time. And in this case, like, we'd be the ones producing the blocks. Now, obviously, there could be cases where somebody else produces a block at the same time we do, but as long as we are mining on our own blocks, we would never have a block rejected, if that makes sense. Now, that is kind of selfish mining, I guess. So, maybe it's not something we should do, but as a feature of most proof of work networks, if 50% of the hash is mining their own blocks, those blocks will never get reorged, rejected, or orphaned. That's just kind of how the networks operate. But like, if you really wanted to play fair, you could reject your own block in favor of somebody else's, but like, I just don't think that would ever happen. Like the way it works, to be clear, is, when I submit a block to the network, the first block up here receives is the block they mine on. Even if they receive other blocks after that, like in Bitcoin, they would never mine on the block they received after. They'd only mine on the block they received first. And so in our case, if we have 50% of the hash, we would just mine on our own blocks, always. And so any block that's submitted to us after, we find our own block, like we wouldn't mine on. So, I mean, that's just how the node already operates. I guess you're not like selfishly mining, but you are kind of, but like, that's just how the code is written, but I hope that answers that question.
Yeah. Interesting question, Kishore. I'm curious about your word choice, but I probably need to catch up on what's happening in that research channel. Guys, if you haven't seen it, we got some big heads going deep with the QAI bot. So a lot of learnings coming out of there. Rock on. All right. Okay. Following up on that, we got another one here. How dependent does security become on external parent chains if Kapow contribution drops? Interesting question. Did you get that one, Jonathan? I want to say it's not dependent on external chains, since those giant script miners are still mining quad.
Sorry, continue. Finish with that.
No, I was just thinking, like, it's not, we can't say it's dependent on other chains because those miners are, fundamentally mining Quai.
Right. Yeah, no, the network is never dependent on external parent chains, regardless of what is contributed or what is not contributed. Now, if you have less Kapow hash rate, you would probably want to prioritize SHA or script work shares. I think there's still an algorithm that there's like a controller that limits how many shares per algorithm are allowed per block. So right now we're doing 3-3-3. So 3 shares Kapow, 3 shares script, 3 shares Shaw. If the hash rate of 1 drops and stays low, we would just increase the number of shares allocated to the other algorithms so that the security is still consistent with the hash rate, but it would just be security from the other 2 algorithms in greater amounts and less in Kapow. So.
Okay. Interesting question there, Kishore. I like the way you're thinking about this, though. Next one here. What's the approximate cost multiplier for reorgs as total entropy increases? Cost multiplier for reorgs as total entropy increases.
There's no cost multiplier for reorgs. Reorgs are just something that happen naturally. And they happen in Quai, they happen in Bitcoin. The only thing that can multiply the number of reorgs or the number of orphan blocks is the block time. If you reduce the block time, or I guess you can say block size, if you increase the block size and reduce block time, you're going to see more orphans as blocks become heavier or become too fast to propagate in an efficient manner. Now, I think Bitcoin could double the block size or even probably quadruple it and see no meaningful difference, but they choose not to do so.
Got it. Okay, so more of a infrastructure network latency issue.
Yeah, it's all related to latency and bandwidth. That's something that we determined when we did our research all those years ago, developing block redistribution as a protocol in a paper. We determined that the vast majority of time is latency and bandwidth. And then there's obviously some compute time, especially when you're looking at smart contracts. The compute does have a factor, but it's much more bandwidth and latency than anything else.
Got it. Okay. Rock on. All right, so 2 more questions here, kind of related probably to how we're balancing emissions. So I'm going to ask them both. Okay, so can short-term flash mining or rented hash bursts distort the entropy balance or reward share? And then additionally, could a single parent chain algorithm become too dominant within the allowed 9 work shares?
Okay, so basically if somebody rented a bunch of hash and started mining Quai, they get more Quai for doing so, and then the difficulty would adjust and the amount of Quai they get would decrease. So that's kind of how it works as a difficulty adjustment. You'd get a lot at first because you'd find a lot of shares, right? But then the difficulty would adjust and you would get less. The difficulty adjustment happens pretty quickly. Bitcoin is over 2 weeks, so Bitcoin's really slow. Ours is only like 100 blocks, I think. So after about 100 zone blocks, you would be kind of limited. So the difficulty adjustment happens a lot faster. I just don't think it would meaningfully, break anything. So yeah, if you want to do that, go ahead. Like that would probably minus a Bitcoin block if you ripped a bunch of hash rate. So.
Right. Okay. That helps me understand that one, just like how quickly the difficulty adjusts. So building on that, I think this is another controller question, but maybe we're wondering like how fast that controller adjusts as well to the increasing difficulty on these other hash algorithms. Right. So the question stated, could a single parent chain algorithm become too dominant within the allowed 9 work shares?
No, like I said, it's 9 that's split evenly, so 3-3-3. If one chain had like a ton of hash rate, it would still only get 3 work shares per block. So I just, and those work shares would be valued the same as, script or Ravencoin work shares. So, I really don't think that it would become dominant. The controller does have the ability to change the number of work shares allocated to an algorithm per block. That's true. So yeah, I guess I'm not super sure on how that part works, but as I understand it, no, I don't think there would be any issue with one algorithm being much higher hash rate than another one. It would just be a less profitable algorithm to mine for the energy consumed.
Right. Right. The other side of these questions that I'm keep thinking about, Jonathan, let me know if you have any thoughts on this. The ultimate goal is to maximize emissions in the subsidy chains to buy back Quai, right? So perhaps there's some additional thinking that we need to spend there when we talk to Dr. K on Wednesday. And what are we balancing here? Is it fairness of rewards to miners on one end and then maximizing subsidy rewards on the other? That's kind of what I'm thinking about in my head right now. Do you have any thoughts on that, Jonathan?
I mean, yeah, the balance, if you really want to dumb it down, is quite simple. We want to pay you for your hash, and we want to pay you slightly more than you would get just mining Bitcoin. If you think about Bitcoin or Litecoin or whatever. So a miner is enticed to move to Quai because they make slightly more dollars, if you want to normalize it.
Right.
And we get Litecoin, and they get Quai. And to start with, yeah, it's going to be slightly more profitable to mine Quai than it is to mine Litecoin with your ASIC. That's the normalization. Now, there's a lot that goes into it behind the scenes to make that, play out, because we have to make sure that Quai is always only slightly more profitable, or slightly less profitable, but only slightly. If it's too much less profitable, miners will lose, or will leave. If it's too much more profitable, the protocol won't work as intended. So there is a balancing factor, but the whole balance is really just very clearly, you mine Quai, it's slightly more profitable than mining Litecoin, and that's it. And we get Litecoin.
All right. Thanks, Jonathan. That helps. All right. Rock on, guys. We got about 10 minutes here. I'm going to check back in on X in a second. But before I do, the next one here is there a safe way to rotate or rebalance algorithms without needing a hard fork? And so I think, with this controller, it feels like we can rebalance, but adding or removing algorithms, that's what I don't understand. Jonathan, do you have any thoughts on that?
Right now, adding another coin would require a hard fork.
Got it.
There's no easy way around that, as far as I know.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Would per algorithm difficulty adjustment be enough to keep entropy distribution fair?
Yeah. I mean, we kind of try to get them to an equilibrium point with a controller. And there's a difficulty adjustment, but there's more than just a difficulty adjustment. There's a controller that maintains balancing using the number of work shares per block allocated to algorithm and a normalization factor between hashes, between different algorithms and their hashes. So there's a controller, but there's also a difficulty adjustment algorithm. And yeah, as far as I know, that is enough.
Got it. So pieces of this controller would be, not only determining how many work shares each algorithm gets, but also the normalization of those difficulties for Quai emissions.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Rock on. This is definitely something new I'm starting to wrap my head around. So guys, great questions. Learning a lot today. Let's see here. Could governance adjust per algo parameters could governance adjust per algo parameters dynamically without destabilizing the incentive balance? I think that's the whole purpose.
Maybe I don't think we're planning on doing that with governance. The idea is you build a controller that works and you just keep it kind of like Qi. I mean, you could ask the same question about Qi, like, could governance, maintain the price of Qi in the market or something like that? Like, I mean, maybe, but that's proof of stake. So, I mean, do you really want a currency run by oligarchs? I don't. So, I mean, it's kind of the answer, I guess.
Yeah, no, fair point. Okay. All right, moving right along here. How are SOAP-related emissions being calibrated? Static subsidy boost or dynamic incentive scaling based on network hash participants? All right, Kishore, I feel like you're asking like the same question a bunch of times over. How does this controller work? We'll definitely follow up with Dr. K on Wednesday. So if you don't have any thoughts on that one, Jonathan, I'll move to the last one here.
Yeah, I mean, I think questions really to the controller are better asked to Dr. K, like exactly how it works, because I'm not entirely up to speed yet.
Got it. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, this is a good one. What is the difference between mining blocks and mining work shares after SOAP implementation?
That is a good question. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. So a work share is just kind of like a block, but lower difficulty. So every once in a while you find a block in Quai, just like every once in a while you find a block in, Litecoin. So you can honestly think about Quai blocks as work shares for Litecoin. That's actually kind of how it works, or for Ravencoin. A block, is kind of a share, and a work share is also a share, but it's a lower difficulty share. So we have this like massive, I mean, you have prime, region, and zone too, right? So we have this massive hierarchy now where, it's kind of funny. I'll try to explain it to you in a way that, makes sense. A pool, right? A pool has miners, and a pool actually sends a share to a miner, or kind of the inverse. A miner sends a share to a pool, but a pool basically tells a miner, this is what your share difficulty is. Okay. It's very low. A miner sends to the pool a share. And a share is just a very low difficulty proof of work. Okay. It's very easy. A miner can find a share every second. They can find a share every 100 seconds. It kind of just depends on what the pool wants. But then the pool takes that share. They verify it against their own share difficulty. And they're like, okay, this guy submitted a valid share. I'm going to knock, or I'm going to give him a point. Then they check if that share meets, the difficulty of the Quai network, right? So the work share or the block difficulty. If it meets the work share or block difficulty, they submit it to Quai. And then Quai does its own verification. It's like, does this share the pool submitted meets the work share difficulty or the block difficulty? And either one, is rewarded. And then we check, does it meet the region difficulty? Does it meet the prime difficulty, right? So there's this massive hierarchy. And then once we've, included it in Quai, we have, the subsidy pool, or I guess you can think of it like a software that interfaces with the Quai network and the subsidy chains. And that checks if the difficulty meets the parent or the subsidy chain difficulty. So that's like, another level in the hierarchy. And if it does, it submits it to that parent chain. So there's actually this just massive hierarchy of chains that are, constantly verifying shares, a massive hierarchy of shares and chains. And, it's really interesting, actually. You start very low at the pool share level, and then you go up a level, which is a work share. And then you go up another level, which is a block, a zone block. And then another level is the region block, and then a prime block. And then, eventually you'll get a block that is a valid Bitcoin block, right?
Oh, that's a great explanation.
Yeah. There's this massive hierarchy of, shares, and they all are the same data, basically. A Quai block does contain transaction data attached to it, but the proof of work is the same amongst all of these levels. The proof of work for the pool share, the proof of work for the work share, the proof of work for the block, and then the Litecoin or the Bitcoin block. I mean, the proof of work is the same on a, obviously a per algorithm basis. But yeah, it's the same proof of work, but it can meet many different levels of difficulty or luck, So it's actually pretty interesting if you think about it. And we've always had this hierarchy, right? It's just we don't really use the hierarchy very much because it's a single chain system right now. But we're actually adding a layer on top, which is the parent, the subsidy chain as well. And it's just interesting.
Yeah, no, that was an amazing explanation. Really appreciate that, Jonathan. Basically, miners are creating, proofs of work. Those proof of works get passed all the way up from the pool to the work shares, the blocks, the region blocks, the prime blocks, and then ultimately subsidy chain blocks. Rock on.
Yeah, that's right.
Man, that's a great explanation. I'm already picturing the visual here. Cool.
Yeah, it's a massive hierarchy. It's very interesting. It's just a massive hierarchy.
Nice. All right. Let's see here. Running up on time, but we got two more good ones. I'd love to ask. First one here. How does SOAP ensure donor chain proof finality without needing to fully sync donor chains? Ooh, that's a good question. Are we running donor chain nodes?
Yeah, so there are different chain nodes, but the Quai network doesn't interface with them. That's just something that the foundation does. So there's a very clear distinction between the Quai network node and what the foundation runs. The Quai network node doesn't know about SOAP really. It kind of does, but it doesn't need to know about what's going on in those chains. It just needs to know if there's a template and if the miner mined on the right template. But it doesn't need to know, what the current block height of the other chains are or anything like that. So it makes it a lot easier to run a node. You don't have to run a Dogecoin node or anything like that. So there is the need for the foundation to run the chain or the nodes, all of them. But there's no need for Quai node operators or Quai miners, solo miners, or anybody running a Quai node to run those nodes. The information that kind of is relevant to those chains is propagated through the network and is signed. It's like information that is signed by the Quai Foundation, and the Quai nodes can verify that signature. So they don't need to run their own node. They get this kind of signature that says, here's what, the current block looks like on this chain, and just like make sure that you're mining on top of this current block. But that, again, that's not something that the Quai network really cares about. They only care that the miner is mining on top of like a valid signature. But even if they don't, they still get rewarded. They just get rewarded less.
Got it. And great questions, Kishore. Last one here, and then some comments. Will we be able to stake our Quai inside our Pelagus wallet to earn staking rewards when SOAP goes live? Ooh.
Yeah, you would go to the website, but there would still be, the ownership of your wallet still remains inside the Pelagus, but the button you click is on a website.
Got it. Maybe we'll integrate that into the wallet at a future date, but sounds like no plans currently.
Yeah, we could. I guess we could do that. I guess it's kind of like a security thing. Yeah, it would probably be more secure to do that in the wallet so you don't get phished. I guess that's the only difference, right?
Yeah.
Is dApps can get phished sometimes, or people can get phished by going to a website that looks like the right website, but it's not.
Right.
Like if you go to uniswap.org and you actually accidentally typed like Uniswap with like a $sign instead of an S or something, I don't know. Like there's like other websites that will phish you. So yeah, that's important. Something to consider.
Nice. All right. Rock on, guys. Kishore, feel free to follow up while I talk through this, but he has a comment. He said, "You wouldn't believe the controller questions he gets." And at this point, I can absolutely believe it. I've seen all of them that you brought here today. I'm thinking overall now, like we really need a good, one pager on how the SOAP emissions controller is going to work. It'll definitely help a lot of people wrap their minds around it. Because it sounds like things are getting interesting. People are digging in, and they're very curious, which is a good thing. Awesome. Rock on. Yep. And then Kishore just, another comment on Pelagus. It would be a good option to have that in Pelagus. So I'll take that note as well. Nice. Well, really appreciate the time today, Jonathan. I don't see any other questions on X. So that's pretty much it for what's in Discord today. What do we got coming up next? He said we're working through hopefully final DevNet today, and then just continuing to iterate with the pools. Expecting to see SOAP go live on testnet sometime this week, and then all of you guys out there who are building rigs can absolutely participate in a number of pools we're working with currently. Alpha Mine or Alpha Pool was the one that I remember. What were the other two again, Jonathan?
K1 Pool and Hero Miners. And if there's any pools you want to see join in on the SOAP effort, I highly encourage you to contact them, especially if you're listening and you're a miner. Please contact your pools, tell them you want them to add support for SOAP, and we will get them onboarded very quickly. We are focusing majority right now on helping pools integrate, and that's something that we're going to continue until it gets done. So if you have a pool you like that you use, that you mine on, maybe you have an ASIC, maybe you don't. But either way, if you have a pool you like, please contact them. Tell them you want to see them integrate Quai or SOAP, and we'll get them onboarded. There's other pools that mine Quai right now that we have reached out to, haven't heard back from. So there's obviously an engagement that needs to continue there. I think Cryptex we're in communication with, and then a couple others. But, like I said, if there's any pool that you mine with right now, you want to see them support us in the hard fork, I highly recommend you tell them to contact us. We will, do whatever we need to get that integrated.
Absolutely. Man, really appreciate it, Jonathan. I know you guys are super heads down right now. Thanks for taking the time today. Obviously, we got a lot of folks diving deep on this and trying to learn as much as possible. So we will follow up on all these questions. Kishore, thank you so much for bringing them in today. Steph,